realize it. So
Okay, sure.
just takes a second.
Okay.
Oh, there we are. We're live. Hey, folks. It is Lisa Ziegler, and so very, very glad to be on this chilly night with you guys. With it getting dark and being cold, it really does start to feel like winter. And I am just really happy to be here tonight with Wendy Brubaker. Hi, Wendy.
Hi there.
And so Wendy is actually in Ohio, and she is Morningside Meadows Flower Farm. And we're going to hear all about her business and what and is it Gracie? Is that your daughter?
Gracie's my daughter. She's 16 now. So she's
Oh,
the one
she
that
is.
started
Okay.
with this dream, and we have just taken off with it.
We're just so excited to hear about everything that you guys are doing. So I'm just checking over on Facebook to make sure we're all in order before we dive in. And so I've got my mute down so I don't have a blowback. So welcome everybody. And I am interviewing Wendy tonight. She's actually been a student in several of our online courses, but tonight we're going to specifically talk to her about the hoop and greenhouse course and how that may have helped her. But first, I want to learn all about what she's doing, because I will tell y'all already that I'm just so fascinated by one of the statements she made. She filled out a form we asked our students to submit about their success story. And Wendy shared expanding knowledge and understanding rather than square feet. And y'all, that is like, made me feel so good, Wendy, when I read that. It's like that is behind everything that we teach.
Yeah, well, you influenced us, Lisa. We feel like that idea probably came from you in the beginning when we took your first class.
Well, thank you for that. And I feel like everything that we offer is to help people do that. You don't have to get bigger, just get better at what you have. So before we dive in and I start asking you about your business. If you're watching us for the first time tonight, my name is Lisa Mason Ziegler, and I'm with the Gardener's Workshop. And we are, I've been a flower farmer for over 2 decades, started teaching, lecturing, launched an online garden shop, then started creating online courses, and then started publishing them for some of my awesome peers that I really wanted to share what they were doing. And so that kind of brings us around to where we are today. And so currently one of our courses is in an open enrollment, which only happens 5 days out of the year. And so we always want to highlight it and let people hear it from students, how that course may have helped them and help them turn a corner or do something better. And that's why I've asked Wendy here this evening. So just some housekeeping. First off, we love it when our students comment and use the little sunflower emoji. That identifies you to me and everybody watching that you are a student of any of our online courses. We love doing that. And then people start connecting together. So if you're a student, we would love for you to do that. Oh, and they're already starting to do it. That's awesome. And the other thing is, if you want to learn more about any of our courses, the one that's currently open or any of the others, you just need to visit thegardenersworkshop.com. And we've got a lot of information over there and short videos and just lots of student reviews, as well as success stories. So we know I can talk till the cows come home, but there's nothing better than hearing it from the people that are actually taking the classes. So I invited Wendy Jessie invited Wendy to be here tonight. Jessie is one of our team members. And so Wendy, tell us a little bit about how y'all came to flower farming and what y'all are doing, like where you are, what zone you are, and kind of what you and Gracie are up to.
Okay, so Gracie, my daughter, is 16 going on 17. And to give you a little backstory, before the flower farming began, We built a home here on 5 acres. We now have 8 acres. Most of it's farm ground, which is in hay. So we're not really surrounded by a lot, but we're close to Dayton and we're not too far from Columbus and Indianapolis. So in 2018, we've always had a big vegetable garden. We put up a lot in the summer. It's just what we've done. It's part of our heritage. It's what my mom did and mothers before her. So Gracie decided that she was going to put in a corner of our garden in flowers. And we had the season before, we had just had our oldest daughter's wedding here on our property. And so that was our first getting into understanding a little bit about what people do that grow flowers and where they come from and arranging. So we really enjoyed that. When we decided to do the flowers, then much to Gracie's discouragement, I just took a hold of that and she thought this was going to be her little side thing, but I just nabbed on that and we took off. So we learned as much as we could. We went on Lisa's website and we got all the free information that we could get, and there's a lot of it there. We went other places too, but I would say Lisa was our best. We got the most knowledge and understanding there. So that's when we were obviously introduced to her classes. So our first growing season, I would say we grew on less than a 1/16 of an acre. We did 2 farmers markets that summer. And then I'm just looking at my notes here. We did 2, and then we started introducing ourselves to a couple florists in the Springfield area. They weren't that interested in us. What we took them wasn't that great, but we didn't stop. And so we were very persistent. So by the end of the season, we were in well enough that we could actually ask them, what would you like to see us grow next year? And so one of those florists really kind of took us under their wing and started helping us to know that they were interested enough that they wanted us to keep going. So that fall, and I didn't mention, we homeschool here. I have 4 daughters that are still at home. And as part of our homeschool curriculum for Gracie, we decided to do Lisa's basic course. So we also did Dave Dowling's in January, and that was a big leap of faith. So Gracie and I sat down and we did this like homeschool. This was what we did that fall for 6 weeks and then again in January. But we got a lot of information that really set us up to succeed the next year. So along came COVID and we know what all that was about, but us flower farmers found out that COVID was really the thing that got us going.
Doors open, didn't they?
Yeah,
I mean, just doors everywhere.
Yeah, there were benefits. Everybody wanted flowers. We did, I think that beginning of that year, we opened our Instagram account. And so we did a couple paid advertisements. We did a giveaway for a 6-week subscription. So that was the beginning of our subscriptions. And that year, the second year, which was 2020, we continued to sell to florists. That was our top sales outlet. We started our CSA, and at the height of that, we had as many as 30 subscriptions.
Wow.
And so
Good job.
we really enjoyed that. That was neat because you can actually see and understand, you can see the faces of where your flowers are. And that was great. So that year, there was lots of sleepless nights. People of my age begin to wake up in the middle of the night and can't go back to sleep because their mind is just constantly running. So we dreamed up other things in the middle of the night. We approached a local meat market, which is in a trendy town of Troy, Ohio, and they really liked our idea to sell bouquets. So that launched our wholesale bouquet. We had several other people that came to us when they saw what we were doing. And so we tried some other outlets that year. So that our farmers markets didn't open that year. We were approached by other ones, but we decided just to stay back and not do anything that year. So we broke even. We invested a lot, but we actually came out of the hole. And so we were raring to go for our next season. So this year was our third season that we're just closing up. And I would say 40% are still florists. They're not giving up on us quickly. They want us. I would say 30% of our sales are in the wholesale bouquets to the retail establishments. And then 30% is our CSAs, our farm sales, and we've done some pop-up shops here and there. And then the new thing this year is we've started to do events. And we've had people contact us we did 2 weddings. Let's see, we done various bridal showers, anniversary parties, some big, some small, some just birthday parties. And we really like that. So we're actually in the midst of Jenny Love's wedding course. So we're looking to do weddings more.
Jenny's course. So what, it's only week 2, right? Hers
Yeah,
is the same as mine right now.
Yeah.
I mean, your brain is going to explode.
It is. And we're not sure how deeply we're getting in there, but we did, with our experience with that last year, we know now that we need to know a lot more before we can be successful in it, if we even want to go that route. So
Sure. So first off, I want to say that y'all are ambitious. I mean, I think, and that is just so amazing and wonderful. I'm so proud of what y'all are doing.
we're excited, but it doesn't come without its headaches. And we're at the point where we think we're ready to hire. We're just not sure. It's kind of big and scary right now. So
I totally understand that too. I understand. So, my goodness, I made all kinds of little notes while you were talking there. So, I want you to tell us how the size of your garden has progressed. So, you started on a 1/16 of an acre.
Sure.
And where are you now?
So, our second year was when we decided that we were going to we took the NoTill class from the Lice family, and that was your class. We wanted to do NoTill. So we realized that we could not grow in space if we were going to do NoTill. And so we really made that work for ourselves. I think we now have around 1/4 of an acre. We have lots of room to expand, but with 2 of us doing most of the flower farming and there are other girls filling in here and there, we've had some outside help occasionally, just friends that want to come and help. But we have not actually hired anyone to help us at this point. But we just know that we can't handle more at this point. So we don't know where that's going with our size and space, but we are pretty happy with what we have.
And so you took Gretel and Steve's course, correct? Growing cut flower crops in hoop and greenhouses. So do you have a hoop house or a greenhouse?
So at the end of season 2, we knew that we wanted to, there were just several things we wanted to do. Ranunculum and anemone are just one of those dream flowers that we didn't want to not have that opportunity. So we actually applied for the NRCS grant in the middle of the summer, but we were kind of on the tail end, knowing that nothing would probably happen for more than a year. But we waited. And then we got into the fall and we realized, if we're going to do this, we just need to get a hoop house and see what happens. Just play around with it. We don't have to be so serious. We bought a caterpillar tunnel from Farmer's Friend. My husband and I installed it, and we put that in November. So we did not get any fall crops in, but we knew when we put that in that was perfect timing to do Steve and Gretel's class. So we bought the subscription to that and started that class in January.
And so that was November a year ago that you put your house up?
2020. Yep.
2020. So what did you grow in that house this summer? Okay. What helped you? What did you do there?
Well, until we took Steve and Gretel's class, frankly, we didn't know what we were going to do. That's what they taught us. And so it was just very timely, and we couldn't have done it without what they gave us. Matter of fact, after we put the hoop house in, we were feeling so insignificant. We just didn't feel like we could do it. We were thinking that we were a year early, and we could have probably waited another year. We still had a lot to figure out in the outside fields. But Stephen Gretel's class gave us that push that showed us where to go and how to move forward. So I think in January and February, actually, we probably planted, at the beginning of February, we planted ranunculus and anemone. We filled the whole hoop house up. We planted a lot
Wow.
of successions because we just didn't, we didn't know what we were doing. So we had a huge crop that came all at once. And it was overwhelming. But we did manage, we also put in a cooler. We put in our indoor cooler during that time. And we couldn't have done it without that. We had a huge tulip crop in the field, and we had the ranunculus and anemone coming in. So we did manage to have those until beginning of June for a wedding that we did the first week of June.
That is so encouraging. So how big is your hoop house?
Well, it's 14 by 80. So
Wow.
we got the 100-foot class, but we made it a little shorter than what we intended to fit our space.
Right. And so does that house sit within your quarter acre, or is that in addition?
That really accommodates the addition. So we did add a couple little rows out in the field and then the hoop house. So
wow. So tell us, how did you take in Gretel and Steve's course? I've just been talking to them a lot in the last few days. We've recorded some podcasts, and they just ooze information. I did a lot.
I actually got to meet Gretel at Leo Burby.
Did you?
Back in September when they had their little workshop there. So they have a great teaching style, and I really have an appreciation for how they work together so well.
I often say that they're just the sweetest couple. And what is so endearing to me is when they speak, it's almost like they know what they're going to say and what their partner's going to say. And you can just tell they're on the same page.
They work together very well and make it just super edifying for the learners.
Yeah, I totally agree. Today I did an Instagram live. Actually, it was on Gretel's Instagram feed. They gave us a tour again of their houses and saw their stock crop. Oh my goodness. I mean, just all these crops that they have coming in this fall.
Sure.
And, I don't have houses. I can't have houses where I am. And I told her after she was done, and she was just sharing so much information. And I told her, I said, Gretel, I feel like this class is so incredible for people to be able to go back and re-listen to it over and over, because my head was swimming after 30 minutes of listening to her talk about the wonderful different crops and how they extend their season for weeks.
Right.
So have you found that to be true? So are you extending your season?
I actually have quite a bit I could say about that. What I would say, their class, they're coming from a very large operation. So they, and many, many years of experience. So for me, a little beginning grower, it was very overwhelming. But the neat thing about it is you can take what you can process at that given moment. I was on a level where there's several weeks that did not necessarily benefit me today, like the latter portion on pest and that kind of thing. I didn't take a lot of that in. I listened through it. It's rolling in my head. I'll check back with that when I start having those issues. All of the information about heated tunnels, there's so much information coming from the experts in their field that for me, there was more than I could take in. So this class really will go the distance if we grow as a company ourselves.
It's so funny. That's exactly what Gretel said. Gretel and Steve, actually, I think it was day before yesterday, I was talking to them, and they said that first off, that they put the pest and disease portion of the course at the end, because nobody wants to, that's not really the fun stuff, right?
It's not the fun stuff,
but what they've said several times is that, when you start growing in hoop and greenhouses, you don't see issues typically until a couple of years in.
Yeah.
and that you'll
So that's
reference.
in the back of your head, and we'll go there when we need that information.
And that is so great about that class. Um, so did you find the course, or I mean, you could probably actually apply this to all the courses. Did you look at them on a computer or on a phone or both? Which devices did you use?
Initially, I sat at my desk in front of my PC, and my family comes and goes around me. And so we take notes. We have a notebook that goes along with the class so that we can refer to things. But after the class, there's just nothing like going on your phone if you're out in the field and going back to the certain segment. So even though we knew how to grow, say, Lysianthus, there's a whole section on Lysianthus and how you grow it in a hoop house. And there's a lot of differences on how you approach growing in the hoop house. So really, in a sense, we were starting over to be successful. And so that was our crop that followed up the ranunculus and anemone.
And I think they have sessions on ranunculus and anemones too,
They
don't
do.
they?
They do.
And
They have a whole section on what to actually grow. And
yeah,
so those we didn't know, and so we were able to broaden our horizon and think, snapdragons. I wouldn't think about growing them in the hoop house.
right.
But it kind of gives you an appetite to have 3 hoop houses.
Well, it's so funny that when Gretel and Steve were talking, and I said, well, so how many structures do you all have now? Gretel instantly said 17, Steve said 18, and then they looked at each other and said, we have another house. It's like they just keep adding and adding because of what you just said. When you realize how much you can grow and expand, and then and I want to talk just a little bit about, you have found that the demand is growing, right, in the flower world.
We were not able to probably offer our florists as much this year because our CSA took off so much, and then we were consistently putting bouquets in stores. So our florists fell behind this year a little bit this season, but we are really ramping up to try to make them our top buyer. We really want to cater to them because we know about the upcoming and the current flower shortage, and they're aware of it. They actually let us know in the beginning last year, and we're like, well, this is exactly what we're hearing from Lisa and from all the people that are talking about growing flowers. So it did definitely mesh, and we realized that there's a need.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that you're hearing what we're hearing. I hear it from a lot of different sources, but it's always nice when other people say, yes, our customers are saying that too. So
we thought we were going to go and tell them, but they knew. They very well knew what was coming. So.
And I think that it's smart on your part. For me in my business, I was very much following what you did, except we never did events. Our florists were kind of like the cream. We always gave them the cream of the crop, and then we did that's not that there's anything wrong with the other flowers, but florists get the grade A stuff.
Well, we grow all kinds of flowers. We grow a lot of short things that we can't sell to the florists. So those go into some of our event work. And so there's kind of a hierarchy of where the flowers need to go.
So if you're just joining us, I am having a wonderful chat with Wendy Brubaker of Morningside Meadows Flower Farm in Ohio. And Wendy and her daughter, Gracie, and maybe even with some help from her other daughters, if on occasion, it sounds like, are growing flowers on a 1/4 acre, and they serve florists, a CSA. You're doing design work now, and one farmer's market or 2.
We did do one farmer's market this year because that was kind of Gracie's thing. I wasn't really that interested, but she likes the people and she has her regulars. So we did a 2 Saturday a week farmer's market. We probably will not do that again next year, at least at this point we're thinking that way.
Right. So y'all are producing a lot of flowers on a 1/4 acre. And what Wendy has been sharing with us is her experience with Steve and Gretel Adams' course, growing cut flower crops in hoop and greenhouses. And so Wendy's just diving into a structure. They've just now had one up for a year. And Wendy, if there's anybody listening that's on the fence or not sure if the course would really help them, what would your advice be to them?
Well, yeah, I don't know if I would be able to speak to someone that's considering getting a hoop house. I think that it could be very valuable to somebody that doesn't yet have a hoop house to help them
Right.
to know. But I also think that by not having a hoop house, it would put you off because of the fact that Steve and Gretel are a large operation and they're speaking for, I mean, anyone with 17 greenhouses and hoop houses that have heated houses and pretty much have flowers almost every season of the month of the year. It might be a little off-putting, but if you know that's where you're going, it gives you a vision for the future and it gives you an idea of what you're getting into. It is really a lot. There's quite a bit of difference in growing in the field and growing in the field. So I was surprised, and some of those things hit me square in the face, especially when you're talking about irrigating. Nothing in a hoop house gets water. Well, that's a duh moment, but you have to stop and realize that and make a plan for that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. You know, when I go and visit farms with houses, it is a whole nother can of worms, right? I mean, yes, they're growing flowers, but it's so different than what we do out in the field and in a garden.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, out in the field, we're hooping to keep things cool or from getting too cold and freezing or breaking down. In the hoop house, we have to really think about keeping that air rolling through there. We'll fry everything in there. So that takes some dedication.
Yeah, she did mention today that ventilation is king of all things that you learn how to do. So if you're just joining us, we're talking about Steve and Gretel's course. It's called Growing Cut Flower Crops in Hoop and Greenhouses. And the once a year enrollment is open now, and you can learn more from the gardenersworkshop.com. And so the enrollment is open until Tuesday at midnight, which is November 23rd. We're in 2021 if you're watching this later. And then school doesn't start until January 5th. And it's 6 weeks. And in addition to having your sessions each week that you watch that are recorded, you get a once a week live Q&A with Steve and Gretel where you can submit questions. So if there's a burning problem that you have and you don't see it in the content, that's where you can get your questions answered, as well as the closed Facebook groups. Did you find the Facebook groups to be helpful?
Yeah, I wanted to say the Facebook group and the question and answer sessions are where the beginners really get the meat that they need. So if the class itself seems a little above you, that is where you're going to find the beginner questions, and that's where they're going to give you the answers that you need. So those are very valuable, and the Facebook group is very valuable for this class.
I agreed. And the support and networking that goes on amongst the classmates is also very, very helpful. I mean, so many times before an instructor can answer a question, classmates have jumped in to either say, hey, did you watch session, whatever, it was in there, or I've done this. It's really a kind of a sweet group to really be a part of. So the class is $595. That's always the burning question in everybody's mind, and I just don't even mind saying it. And you can learn. We do have a 2-payment plan if that would help you. And we hope that if you are thinking of growing in houses, or if you have houses, I feel confident saying you will learn something new and take it away. They really are amazing instructors. And if you're not already following Steve and Gretel on Instagram, they post more on Instagram than they do Facebook, and it's Sunny Meadows Flower Farm. And they are constantly posting short videos. They have several tours of their farm and the houses. The Lysianthus this summer was did you see that, Wendy?
Yeah, Lysianthus and the hoop house are amazing.
They were like 4 feet tall. I just absolutely could not believe it. It was so gorgeous. So I would say to you, if you're in doubt, head over and look at their Instagram feed. And I would be happy to answer any questions anybody has. You can either ask it over here if you're live on Facebook. I'll scroll through here in just a minute. But you can DM me and I'll be happy to answer it, or you can send an email to info@thegardenersworkshop.com. We're really proud of this course and what it offers to people. And there's just no better time than right now. So let me just look through here right quickly and see if there's any questions that people have for me or for you. Are you near Lima, Ohio, Wendy?
It's about an hour and 15 minutes from us. So
that's where my father-in-law was born.
Okay, very good. Yeah, we have friends that live up there. We go up there occasionally.
A lot of people are saying, hi, Wendy.
Okay, yeah.
Do you know?
We are in 6A, and so that is similar to Stephen Gretel. So that was another thing that was great for us, but they speak to all the zones really. So
yeah, no, I found that to be true also. So some people are, she doesn't say where she is, but Tina says she's cold. So good to hear. I had a florist tell me she'll take everything next year. You know, that's what we're facing with florists that get a taste of what local flowers are like, which it sounds like what is happening for you.
Yeah.
Once they know that they're available locally, they're really, really good. So Michelle says she's listening from Ohio. She's an hour south of you.
Okay.
So there's people all over.
Yeah, we have
Michelle,
5 or 6 flower farms around us in the last.
Oh, do you really? So
Right.
Michelle says, I'm taking your course online now, but I live in a very, very windy stage. And I was wondering if it would benefit me to put 2 rows of netting to support the flowers this summer. If you put support netting on, I say properly, when it's installed right, you really should not need 2 layers if you get the netting to where it needs to go. So I can't imagine cutting flowers through 2 layers, but I'm sure there's people that do that. So I don't see any other questions. So Wendy, I really appreciate you sharing your insight and your experience with Gretel and Steve's course. I think that the future is bright for you all growing and having another house on board. I bet the next time we talk.
Yeah, I will mention we did the hoop house because we wanted the spring flowers earlier, but we are finding that we have fall flowers now too. So that's pretty amazing. We tried heirloom ones and they're still blooming at this time. So
aren't they beautiful?
They are. We don't even have a place to sell them because we cut our florists and everybody off at the beginning of November, but that's just something to think about for next year. So
yeah, it's that's definitely another part of the planning is like when you plan a bunch of stuff, you need to think about where you're going to sell it and when it comes in. And that is all really, really good. So Wendy, I really appreciate you joining me here and sharing your experiences. And from everybody here on Facebook, they appreciated watching you.
Okay.
And so I can't wait to see what happens.
I have the opportunity and to meet you too, Lisa.
Hey, it's my pleasure. And I'm sure our paths will cross again. So Wendy, I thank you so much. And good luck with the coming season. And just in a few months, you'll be busy again.
That's right. It won't be long now. We're already busy.
Isn't that the truth?
That's for sure.
All right, Wendy, thank you so much. Till we meet again. Ciao, everybody.